In the BTTH? After Xiao Yan rescued Yao Lao, why didn't he immediately hand Hanfang over to him? Why did he wait until after marrying Medusa before doing so? It was only at the moment when Xiao Yan and Medusa knelt down that one could truly understand how deeply affectionate and righteous brother Yang really was. Yao had lived for several centuries. His life experience and wisdom were by no means inferior to Xiao Yan's. Yet, there were two events that left indelible scars in his heart. One was the disappearance of his teacher, Hanfang, the person who had helped him obtain the bone-chilling flame. Ever since Hanfang went missing, Yao Chen seemed to have become a completely different person each day. He did nothing but refine pills and stare blankly into space. Although Yao Chen held feelings for Xuan, the precious pearl of the Pill Tower, and for Princess Hujuju of the Demon Valley, he could never bring himself to open his heart to either of them. The disappearance of Hanfang on the frozen plains had left a void within him, a memory he could not fully recall nor let go of. Unable to accept the affection of Xuan Yi or Hujuju, Yao Chen remained emotionally distant, never showing any sign of attachment toward either woman. Hanfang's master Xiao Shanghe once entrusted Yahui with a handbook urging him to make good use of the influence of the Holy Pill City to take the initiative in searching for Hanfang, to find Hanfang and at the same time to prove his own worth to the Yao clan. Yao Chen declined the assistance of the Pill Tower, left the Little Pill Tower, and together with Feng Nan established the Falling Star Pavilion with a few trusted Do Kings as its core members. Although Yao Chen was the nominal leader of the pavilion, it was Feng Yang who truly handled its operations and administration. Meanwhile, Yao Chen continued to search across the continent for Hanfang, occasionally sending a few medicinal pills to the pavilion's contact points as a sign of his safety. 10 years later, the Falling Star Pavilion had grown into a colossal power within the Central Plains, with informants and agents spread throughout every corner of the continent. Thanks to Yao Chen's reputation as the #1 alchemist of the Central Plains, along with Feng Yan's skilled leadership and subtle strategies, the pavilion flourished, becoming so formidable that even the heavenly venerates of the Hall of Souls were cautious of making any move against it. Under Yao Chen's guidance, the Falling Star Pavilion settled within the natural grand formation of the Heavenly Star Mountain Range, bringing unprecedented prosperity and influence to the Central Plains. Many local clans and sects that allied themselves with the pavilion gradually rose to become dominant powers within their respective regions. The other was his own disciple who betrayed and stabbed him in the back, Hanfang. Although the nature of these two events was somewhat similar, the pain they caused was vastly different. One was regret and the other was betrayal. For that, Brat Hanfang Yao had poured in all his resources and effort to nurture him. To Yao, the ceremony of taking a disciple was no different from adopting a child. However, Hanfang's background was very different from Xiaoyan's. He was an orphan living amidst the chaos of war. Yao saw in him extraordinary talent and great potential for cultivation. Moreover, since the boy had neither father nor mother and lived a pitiful life, Yao found him strikingly similar to his own past. When Yao was young, he had been expelled from the Yao clan, and a few years later, both his parents passed away. Thus, he knew all too well the pain of living without any kin. That was why he chose to take Hanfang in as his disciple. But who could have imagined that? All because of the flame mantra. Hanfang would choose to poison Yao and even ally with Elder Mugu to lead the Hall of Souls in besieging him. Although Yao was heavily poisoned and stabbed by Hanfang as a peak intern da venerate, he could have easily reversed the situation and slain his treacherous disciple. However, Yao did not do so simply because he was too kind-hearted, unable to deliver the fatal blow. Afterward, as a mere soul body, Yao could only silently bear the pain, licking his wounds alone for countless years. Even after his resurrection, that wound never truly healed. What he did not know was that his second disciple, Xian, would one day fulfill that wish on his behalf. After rescuing Yao, the reason Xiao Yan did not immediately hand Hanfang over was because he barely had any time to even think about it. From the moment Yao returned to the Falling Star Pavilion, time seemed to accelerate. Xiao Yan first ventured into the ancient ruins to find the soul infant fruit for Yao in order to restore his original soul energy. After all, Yao had been tormented by the Hall of Souls for so many years. The fact that his soul had not been completely destroyed was already a miracle. That was why Xiao Yan hurriedly searched for the soul infant fruit. fearing that Yao might face another accident because of his weakened state. After obtaining the soul infant fruit, Xiao Yan hurried back and immediately began working to resurrect Yao. At that time, the Falling Star Pavilion was facing tremendous danger. Xiao Yan and Yao Chen had offended the Hall of Souls too deeply by destroying one of the hall's branch halls, something no one had ever dared to do since ancient times. Xiao Yan had effectively sealed the pavilion's fate. The Hall of Souls attack was inevitable. It was only a matter of time. Thus, Xiao Yan anxiously and hastily carried out Yao's resurrection, completely forgetting about that brat, Hanfang. Once Yao Lao was revived, another great battle immediately broke out. Before Xiao Yan even had a moment to recall Hanfang's existence, news arrived: Yun had fallen into trouble. Upon hearing that his woman was being targeted, Xiao Yan grew anxious and instantly left the pavilion. After resolving the matter involving the Flower Sect, he then journeyed to the ancient Dragon Island, a trip that cost him nearly half a year. When he finally returned to the Falling Star Pavilion, he hadn't even settled down before receiving an invitation from the Guan. Xiao Yan quickly set off again, taking Tian Huazunj and several others along. At the Gulan, he met his father-in-law and engaged in a fierce battle with Gu Yao. Afterward, he entered the Heavenly Tomb, met with Xiaoan, and exchanged bloodlines before entering seclusion for another year. When he finally emerged, he successfully broke through to become an 8-star Jew venerate. Overjoyed, Xiao Yan immediately went to find Yao. Yet, before he could even step through the door, shocking news arrived. Medusa was in danger. It was truly exasperating. Every time Xian returned to the Falling Star Pavilion, one of his wives inevitably ran into trouble. The first time it was Qinglin after staying just 2 days. Yun had an accident. The next return involved matters concerning the Pill Tower. And this time Medusa was the one in danger. The pavilion truly seemed incapable of staying peaceful. Once again, Xian hurried off. This time to the Xuanhuang fortress where he fought against the 9 Nether Heavenly Venerate. After rescuing Medusa and reuniting with his wife and child, Xiao Yan finally found a brief moment of peace. Only then did he remember Hanfang and realized that this was the greatest emotional scar lingering within Yao's heart. Therefore, Xiao Yan brought Medusa and Xiao Sa with him to the Falling Star Pavilion, where they knelt before Yao to pay their respects. Seizing this opportunity, Xian handed over Hanfang's soul to Yao. As for how Yao would deal with it, that was unimportant to Xiao Yan. What mattered was helping his master erase the lingering wound within his heart. And Yao Yan had accomplished that. Watching Xiao Yan perform such a solemn and heartfelt bow, the once clouded eyes of Yao gradually cleared. He could no longer hold back his tears. Having such an outstanding disciple like Xian, what need was there to dwell on the past? With a disciple like him, this lifetime was already enough. At that moment, Yao finally let go of all resentment toward Hanfang. Silently, he placed the jade bottle containing Hanfang's soul into his sleeve. As for how Hanfang would be dealt with, that was now entirely Yao's own matter. This video will end here.